Hi YouTube friends, how are you? I hope you're having a magical day. Today's video is going to be about how to move an object with your mind. Now, when I first started looking into this, I was really skeptical. But it seemed like it was real, and when I started trying to do this about 6 years ago, it was only for a couple weeks, maybe 5-10 minutes a day, that I had a little piece of paper that I tried to move, and I didn't have any success at it, and I kind of gave up on it and maybe thought it wasn't real. And then I saw this video by Ted, which was about 13 minutes long one day after I found out that it was real about over a year ago. And I said, oh my goodness, here we have it, right? Here we have people that are creating really nice, clean videos that say these things are not even real. And there I was doing it on a regular basis. You know, it was a very sad experience to be able to go through, because it just shows you, how much so many things are being concealed. It's just as simple as being able to move a little object with your mind, but then, if people start doing that, then you have an intelligent civilization that becomes much more difficult for the governments to control. And so that's really what it's about at the end of the day. So now, going back on how to move an object with your mind, really starts with being able to control your thoughts. And I have heard of people being able to just sit there in front of the object and being able to do it. And I heard that people take some time to be able to do it. It took me, I would say, a week to be able to really be effective at it. And when it happened, personally for me, that moment, when I realized that that was real, it was like a whole new ball game that was just unfolding there in my life, because it wasn't so much about the object that was moving, it was about the energy that moves that object. And I believe that energy is everything else that also is fueled, that is moving in our lives, is by that energy. And so now here's how to do it. You take a really sharp needle on the end, really sharp, and you take a little piece of aluminum foil. The reason foil is because it's the lightest of paper. Paper does have some friction, and even to this day, sometimes when I try to move paper, it is a lot more difficult than moving the tin foil for me. It's like twice as hard, but I can still do it. Now, when you put the piece of tin foil on the needle there, make sure that all windows are closed. There's no air. And nowadays everybody has a mask, so you must have a pile of masks there in your bedroom. Put on a mask so that way you don't breathe on it. Make sure there's no circulating air, and then concentrate, focus, close your eyes, and be able to just meditate for a moment. Quiet your mind, and then focus on the object. And then imagine that object turning. And as you imagine that continuously, if you do that focused enough, you will be able to move the object. Now, if you can't do it the first time, it takes practice to be able to have that concentrated brainwave and cognitive function to be able to have that outcome. Now, one of the things that I've noticed for me as personal experience, because I've gotten pretty proficient at it, is that if I'm in a very much of a concentrated state doing just various things in my day that I'm just checking off, and I'm very much just lasered focus on the flow of the day, then it actually is really easy for me. I can literally just look at it and instantaneously turn it. And sometime back, it was a little bit more difficult for me to move it when I was tired. Now it seems that I could do it just about all the time. Sometimes if I'm trying to show somebody and I'm doing it remotely from miles away and they've never seen it, I kind of have this feeling that they might think I'm weird, and they might think that I'm just making this stuff up, and they might be thinking like, why is he even showing me this, right? But I do it anyway because it's a really fun conversation, and most of the time it does end well. Not always, I would say, but at least 95% of the time it does end well, and it's very positive. And so, but when I'm doing that, I kind of have a little bit of doubt. It's a little bit more intimidating on a group setting, and it doesn't always work. But oftentimes, when I get a little bit warmed in the conversation after a while, I am able to do it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you get tired of looking at the object for an extended period of time, you might just need to just stop what you're doing, get back into a focused state, do some yoga moves, do some concentration, do some Tai Chi, go out and cut a few weeds in your backyard or whatever it is, and, be back into a focused state, and then get back and sit down and get to work and move the object. So in a very concentrated time, of the essence mentality, but very concentrated and very much at ease without trying to get so tired in the process. You want to be just very concentrated in the process. And so if you have doubts that you are moving it, you can also put the glass on there. Now, I found that the glass is probably more of a mostly psychological issue, that once you put the glass over it, then you can't move it, but you can. So you can put your hand on the object there inside of the glass if it makes you feel like that's going to give you a little bit more of an edge on being able to do it. But you don't necessarily have to do that. And so you can actually just be looking at it and move it. Now, one of the things is you can touch it, you can look at it, you can feel it to kind of connect to the object, put it on there, imagine it moving. If it doesn't move in a couple minutes, you can pick it back up and look at it, and or get back into something that brings that particular function of brainwave, because I believe that it's mostly on the brainwave that is actually going to make this happen. So you need to be in that state of concentration. I don't think it's so much about sit there for endless hours and try to move it. Even though that might be an exercise to try, I think it's more about being very aware of the types of brain waves that you're generating, as far as the brain waves that are going to really have that ability for you to have higher levels of concentration. So that's really what it's about. And if you're able to do that, then you should be able to do that. Okay, so I got some more videos on that actually happening. I have some videos where I'm actually pointing my finger on a screen where I'm in a different room completely out of my house into a different room outside, and I'm able to point which direction I want it to go, and I get it to turn that direction. So it's pretty cool when you're able to do that, because it gives you lots of feelings of empowerment. I was able to do it from 3,000 kilometers away, and I mean, that was just like a total euphoric outcome as far as my emotional state for a very long time, and still to this day I feel so great about it, because again, it's not about the outcome of you moving a little piece of tin foil so you can feel really strong. It's much easier to just pick it up and lift it, right? I mean, absolutely. But what is very mysterious is when you're able to do it from distances. And what's interesting about that is there's an experiment called the double split experiment, where they found that if you're observing the smallest element of matter, which is an electron, and they're shooting it through a piece of aluminum, of some sort of metallic material that's actually able to trace the movement of the electron, they found that if there's an observer that has a particular anticipation of the outcome, that will change the outcome. So if the observer believes it's going to go in a straight line, that will happen. If the observer believes it'll go in a wavy pattern, that will happen to the electron. And if the observer is still looking at it through a camera in another room somewhere else, but has that idea that it's going to come out that way, then that's the outcome. So it is really, really interesting when you start to get into this, because you start to get into a realm where energy is really apparent among us. Right? There's always that question of, oh, is healing real? Being able to heal people with your energy, is that even real, right? So I believe that, being able to see that you can in fact move something, and you can in fact change, that biology and somebody with your intention, without even them knowing it, is really actually astonishing. And so I think that these are elements of power to use for good. I think that this is something that you should consider to be able to increase the quality of your life, to also increase the quality of other people's lives. Because I think that the way that we're really going to be able to improve things as a society here is if we're able to get into that bandwidth of frequency as a society, at least 40 or 50%. So once we do that as a society and we're on that on that wavelength, then the society that controls the civilization at this time, the secret society, will be dismantled, and you'll take a whole new society of the light that really assembles a completely much better world. I think about it sometimes and I'm like, gosh, you know, what if kids at school were taught these things? You know, what if you and I would have learned it when we were at school, being able to actually move objects and do other things that such as remote viewing. And if you don't know what that is, you can search one of my videos, or lucid dreaming, which is another one of my videos, or how to meditate. And so there's so many things that we could have learned that I personally feel like I'm being reborn. That's why this is the title for this channel is being reborn and seeking the truth. And as a truth seeker, you find out the truth and you feel reborn and you feel re-energized and you feel reignited, and you know that there's so many things of immense power that can literally be unfolded and drawn to you from the Akashic records. And if you don't know what the Akashic records are, it's another one of my videos, and check it out. I hope that you enjoy this video on how to move an object, because again, it comes down to there's things in our lives that we move, and now when we can move a little piece of tinfoil from far away, it really does, in fact, give us a feeling of empowerment. We can do just about anything in our lives. So I recommend you try it. It's a really fun exercise, and thanks for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care.